Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm going to be doing my senior project on whether or not people's biggest regret is something that they did take action on or something that they did take action on. And then I'm going to ask them what they learned from it and if they would go back on it. Okay, this is my friend Spencer. And is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
Didn't do.
Did you learn from it?
Yes.
What'd you learn?
I learned that take a risk even if you're like uncomfortable, and like try to have like the most fun with whatever you're doing, and you know, just make the best of it. Even if you're nervous to go do something, do it, you know, because like when you go to do that stuff, it like leads to the best things.
Would you go back on it, or do you think this experience helped you, or would you just want to change it?
I'd probably leave it how it is, because like I have learned a lot from it, because it was like one of the first things I was like, oh my gosh, like I really missed out on that, like just because I was uncomfortable with doing it.
Thank you. Okay, this is my friend Marley.
Hello.
I'm gonna ask her, is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
It's something I did.
Do you learn anything from it?
I did. I learned to be more honest and to not react.
Would you go back on it, or do you think
I would go back on it.
You would?
Yes.
even though you learned, you'd still want to
Yeah.
change it?
Yes. Most definitely.
Thank you. Okay, this is my dad, and I'm gonna ask him the question, which is your biggest regret something you did or did not do?
Something that I did.
Okay, and would you go back on it or change it? And what would you change?
I would not be so impulsive and be so reactive. Think about it before you make a big move like that.
Okay, and is that the lesson you learned?
I never learned.
Okay. Is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
My biggest regret is something that I did do, I'd say.
Did you learn anything, or would you go back?
Yes, I would not go back and change it because it was a learning lesson, but I definitely regret something that I did.
What specifically did you learn?
Just to trust my instincts and just to trust myself more and remember who I am. Thank you.
Is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
It was something that I didn't do.
Did you learn anything, or would you go back?
I definitely learned from it. I wouldn't go back, but it's, should I?
You don't have to say it.
I mean, well, no, I mean, okay, what I, like, learned from it? Well, I just learned to, like, just live in the moment more and, like, try not to think too heavily about what's going to happen in the future, not base all the actions I take off of my future and more of the present. So, yeah.
Perfect, thanks. This is Kaylee, and I'm going to be asking her if her biggest regret is something you did or did not do.
I would say my biggest regret is something I did do.
Would you mind to share, or you don't have to?
It would be not getting very good grades my freshman year, which led to going to summer school.
Would you change anything about that, or did you learn anything?
Yeah, I learned to apply myself more, and time management was a big step. But
Perfect,
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so this is Jeremy.
Hi.
And is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
My biggest regret is something I didn't do.
Okay, and what did you learn from it, or would you change anything?
In a way, I wouldn't change anything because it made me find something better. But at the same time, the fact that I didn't do it made me like regret a lot of things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
It's something I did.
Did you learn anything?
Yes, I think I learned just to be more controlled. Also, think about how it's going to make you feel before you do it, I guess, is kind of what I learned.
And would you go back on it, or do you think this experience helped you grow? Or
I think this experience helped me grow, so I guess I wouldn't necessarily go back on it, but I also do wish I didn't do it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm here with Cole and Wyatt. Okay, Cole, is your biggest regret something you did or didn't do?
My biggest regret is something I didn't do.
Okay, what did you learn from it?
That next time I'm in that situation, I will do it.
Okay, would you go back on it or keep it the same?
Like, go back in time?
Like, would you change anything?
Yeah, I would go back in time and like do it, and just to see what the outcome would be. You know.
Okay. What about you?
It's probably something that I did.
Okay, did you learn from it or would you go back on it?
No, I don't think I'll go back on it. You know, I think everything happens for a reason.
Did you learn anything or no?
I learned a little bit, but you know, can't change it now. It's in the past.
Thanks. Okay, so bouncing off what Cole said, a lot of people regret things that they didn't take action on because they wonder how their life could be different or what would have changed or how they would be different. So they really regret things that they didn't do because they want their life to be different or just the outcome in general. And based off of that, I found a site called elemental.medium.com, and I'll leave the link at the end. And it's on an article called Which is Worse? Regretting What You Did or Didn't Do, and it's written by Michelle DeMarco. And one of the questions that was in the article was why regrets of lost opportunity can last longer and cut deeper than regrettable action. And it said in quotes, "It's possible to believe that with time and effort we can fix almost any mistake or misstep, but it's next to impossible to seize an opportunity that no longer exists." And then underneath that, she basically goes into depth about how she looked into this research project at Cornell University, and they partnered with the New School for Social Research. And in quote, it says, based on this research that they did, that the findings of the study were striking. Most people, 72% of people, felt greater regret related to their ideal self than their ought self, 28%. And when asked to name their single biggest regret in life, 76% of the participants mentioned an action not taken that would have helped them to realize their ideal self. So most of the people regret things they didn't do based off of that, rather than what they did do. So, yeah. Another piece of information and source is on Forbes.com. The title of the article is Your Biggest Regret May Be What You Did Not Do, and it was contributed by or written by Ruth Gaudian. And in the article, it says, in quote, "What do you regret most in life? If you are like most people, you regret what you did not do more than what you did. The missed opportunity, the chance not taken." And basically, when I read into it, there was two main projects that took place in the article that were put more into depth and researched. And one was the author Daniel Pink, who wrote the novel The Power of Regret. He did two research projects, and one was called the American Regret Project, and it surveyed American attitudes towards regret. He also did another project called the Word Regret Survey, and it collected basically the same data, but instead it was not just in America, it was basically around the world. And it got 16,000 regrets stated from 105 different countries. And from this survey and information he gathered, he noticed 4 foundational regrets. And the 4 are boldness regret, which is basically a regret that somebody holds where they didn't take a chance. For example, like you didn't take the chance of asking that girl out on a date or asking him out on a date. Just things like that. Another regret that he came across that's part of the 4 foundational regrets is moral, like not doing the right thing, like maybe being mean to somebody or not standing up for somebody when they were getting bullied. Another foundational regret is a connection regret, which is basically like not reaching out to somebody, just like becoming distant with somebody and then realizing, oh, I should text him, or oh, I should text her, and then thinking you'll do it later, you'll do it eventually, but then you just never end up doing it, and you just wish you would have done it in that time. And then lastly, the last one is actually called the foundational regret, and it's a regret that causes frustration at not doing work when it mattered. For example, like if you're in college or you need to pass a test to move on to your next step in life for your future career or study, and you didn't really study for it and you didn't end up passing, people regret not doing things like that, like not working hard enough when it really mattered. So that is the second source. My last source is under the site Inc.com. It's an article titled "New Research Reveals What People Regret Most of All, 5 Ways to Make Sure You Never Do," and it's written and contributed by Jeff Hayden. They cited the same research project that took place in my first source, which came out to have 76% of people having the biggest regret that they didn't do rather than what they did do, which was 24%. And then underneath it says, in quote, research shows that most people regret things they didn't do than the things they did, even if things they did turned out badly. After all, with time and effort, you can fix almost any mistake, but you can't go back and do the things you dreamed of doing but didn't, which means you can only think about how today would be different if you had. And then it basically says that the reason for that is because people think about how they could be or what their life could be if they would have taken action on something, or the person that they could be, or like the missed opportunities they have in their life because they didn't take an action. And then in quote it also says, in short, we most regret thinking we didn't reach our full potential, which most regret not becoming the person we feel we could have become if only we had tried, because that is one mistake you can never go back and fix, but it is one mistake you can stop making today. So yeah, it basically links back to the fact that almost all of my sources and research that I've done leads back to that the majority of people regret things that they didn't do rather than what they did do. And yeah. Okay, so based off of the survey that I made also as one of my sources that I sent out to the school, I got 43 responses from the students that I sent it out to, and I came back with these results, supporting the fact that most people's biggest regret is something that they didn't do, because it is said that 62.8% of people said that their biggest regret is something that they didn't do, and 37.2% of people said their biggest regret is something that they did do. But it was kind of interesting because in my video I interviewed 5 boys and 5 girls, and it came back with the statistics actually swapped from my survey. I had like 60% or 6 out of 10 of the people say that their biggest regret is something that they did do, and I had 4 out of 10 of the people say that their biggest regret is something that they didn't do. So maybe it was because of them being more comfortable sharing what they learned and what their biggest regret being what they did do, or it just kind of depended on the type of people that I asked or the type of experiences the people went through that I asked. But it's kind of interesting how it kind of swapped when I asked people in person and it was anonymously, so maybe that's another factor. But yeah, that's the end of my senior video.